Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Plat podcast. I am your host, Vancer, and with me I've got Wally Walrus.
So,
And for our first episode, since RLCS X is starting very soon, I think you said EU qualifiers are tomorrow, or closed qualifiers are
yep,
tomorrow.
yep.
Yep.
Tomorrow, the 29th.
Rosters are closed as of now, so we thought now's the best time to go over the roster moves that have happened between Season 9 and the upcoming Season X because there has been a lot of moves and lots of players and lots of teams changing places as well. So we figured, no better way to start. So we can start with the two teams auto relegated were AS Monaco and Flight. And the teams that auto relegated, or what's the word? The people that are in RLCSX now. RLCSX are now BDS and Affinity. BDS Monkey Moon Mark by 8, and it was ClayX at the time, and they've now swapped him out for Extra, right? They picked up
Yeah,
during the
extra.
offseason?
Extra is the third.
Okay. And then Affinity. Oh, Affinity is now Alpine, correct? With Percy, Magic Bear, and Jordan.
Yeah,
Okay.
Alpine Esports is Percy and Magic Bear and
Okay, yeah.
Jordan.
So even there, right off the bat, two of the teams that made it in, one made a roster change, and one is now you know, under a
Brand
new
new name.
org. Yeah. And then Solary as well. Kyrian, Melashisu, and Exotic. I know Melashisu is gone. I have no idea about Exotic. Let me check real quick. Solary. Kyrian and Exotic. Okay, yeah. Okay, it's just yeah, and Yukis. Yukis was the player to replace Melashisu, and that was pretty recently that they made that change. So every new team has made a change, and then Karen, otherwise known as the former TSM roster, was relegated, but I think a lot of the players are starting to make their way back into rosters for RLCSX. So thankfully, we're not losing all of those players. I think the first thing that happened after that was Ghost became Envy, and that was the roster of Atomic, Illusion, and Mist at the time.
Yep,
United
yep.
lose Roldiz and bring in Memory from Flight, but he's now already gone, so that's null and void. Rogue drops Wonder and gets Turinturo from Charlotte Phoenix, and I think that's probably one of the biggest, like the most underrated moves of the off season.
Honestly, it does not get talked about a lot, but the Turinturo addition to Rogue is just massive. You can already see that through all the other tournaments that have happened since Season 9. And then we're leading up right into Season X, but it's just the jump from being in the relegation playoff to finishing top four for multiple tournaments of the last few weeks.
Yeah,
Big
especially
jump.
in what was it, whatever the last tournament that just went on was, because I have terrible, I can't
It was
remember.
the ESPN
Invitational, that's
Esports
right.
Invitational.
That's what it was. Yes, and they finished third, falling
They
just
got
short
second.
of. They got. Oh, that's right. That's right. They beat Space Station. I forgot. Yeah.
Yes.
So they got second, even better than I thought. Um, they beat out Space Station, who has also made improvements, and they lost to NRG, who two teams who were above them who got better already. So I think NA is going to be very exciting to watch this season because all of the top teams somehow managed to get better, despite me not thinking that was possible. Um, Endpoint, they also survived the relegation tournament and dropped Nachtai to pick up Metsonoris, which made Endpoint one of the most fun teams to watch for a short time there. I feel like I haven't gotten to see him play much since was that Covert when they just started demoing everyone.
Yeah, the demos were heavy for Endpoint.
Yeah, and so I feel like that team is going to. I don't know how competitive they'll be, but I think it'll be a fun team to watch regardless, and they can definitely sneak some games and some series away from people if they're not prepared for Endpoint. I don't know about you.
Yeah, the demos would be pretty heavy. It's basically though a one man show for Leading Wave, kind of doing all for them, and
Yeah,
then Mesa and who's the last one?
Virtuoso.
Virtual. Those two are kind of just bigger bodies for him and stuff like that. But then Relating Wave does a lot of the work. So if he's not feeling it at the moment, they're kind of
Yeah.
screwed in a lot of sense. But if they're all hitting their mark, those demos will come in clutch and get the other team tilted very quickly.
Oh yeah. We got Reciprocity becomes Oxygen. Singularity. Godsmail out. Scrub in. Um, not a whole lot to say about that. Singularity was a team that was like always sort of on the edge, and Scrubkilla is just you know good ones player, good
That
mechanics player. Godsmilla is now, I think he's on rumored to be on the new Singularity roster because Singularity just became Guild. So that's one thing that's going to be extremely confusing for any players that or any fans that weren't paying attention during the offseason. There's going to be just a full new Singularity roster potentially. Uh,
brand new, brand new.
oh yeah,
It's very, very confusing. On some sites, it just says it's 32 points, which is
yeah,
extra confusing.
yeah. Because I have no idea if that's just now a placeholder, if it's a team name, or if it's if because I don't think any rosters can or any teams can hold two rosters. But I don't know. It's very confusing because all
Well,
the
they don't.
same
They would
logos
only
too
be
and
holding
everything.
one.
Exactly.
Because Guild snatched up the
Well, yeah,
better
yeah, yeah. Because
of
Guild
the
has
two
the other
Singularity
yeah,
guys.
exactly. So I have no idea how any of this makes any sense. Barca. Oh, actually, there was rumor that Flakes actually got a new team recently. That they were going to
Really?
try for. Um, I heard this just the other day. It's Flakes, Lottie, uh, Nalman, and Growly. I don't know anything about any of these people
I've never heard of
because
any of them
I
other than
haven't heard of any of
Flakes.
them either. But I've heard, if they're willing to work with Flakes and Flakes is willing to work with them, they could, in some time, they could become a very good team. That, you know. I'm trying to see what some of these players have played for because I don't recognize like any of
I've
them.
never heard of any of them. The tough thing
Yeah.
with Flakes is he plays so differently than anybody in the entire
Oh,
league, to be
ever.
honest.
Yeah.
So then getting a team to work cohesively around that would be interesting, especially with how that's the one way he'll play. So then getting it to work out that they want to play with him and he plays with them
Oh,
will
their team
will be
name
interesting.
is currently just Uwu. That is their team name right now.
Flakes enjoys the uwu. He likes to name his streams uwu. But then anytime anyone mentions anime, um, he gets very defensive about it.
Yeah, so the fact that Flakes has a team, like, is willing to work with a team is very exciting to me because that just means we'll probably see more players trying to adopt that play style to play with him potentially. And that team could be a huge difference maker in the meta if the team can play well together and actually make waves. So I'm very excited to see if they can do anything. And if Flakes is willing to team up with them, he clearly thinks they're good enough that they stand a chance. Because even if they're willing to play his playstyle, if he doesn't think they're good enough, he wouldn't try. I feel like he would just keep searching. But since he's found a team, I'm excited.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it'll be interesting to see how they play all as a full team of Flake's playstyle.
yeah, I'm very excited. Uh, Fruity out of Oxygen and Astral in, and again another huge move that has now put Oxygen way higher up in the standings for a lot of people. Do you want to start? You want to go on this one first?
The oxygen move
Yeah,
with
yeah. Astral,
Astral.
Astral in, Fruity out.
I think it's gonna be so much different to see, and I mean we've already seen a little bit of it, but how different the presence that Astral has versus Fruity, you can just feel that
Yeah,
Astral is the man right there,
he's much better
and
at kind of bringing his team up. It feels like than Fruity is.
then Fruity's kind of there as like a much more support. He can take a team and do what he needs to do, but I've always noticed that Astral is just the guy and he wants to take over when he needs to,
Yeah,
and he has the mechanics to do it. So then him and Oxygen, it just like automatically makes them an ultimate contender right there in EU,
oh
especially
yeah,
with how the other teams will kind of been faring with Vitality looking slightly weaker of late. They haven't looked as like unbeatable.
yeah.
Liquid's very confusing. Barca's pretty solid, but we still haven't seen a lot. Dignitas has definitely taken a hit,
Oh, well,
and
and
then
because of Astral leaving, so and you take,
so then you
you know,
can just see Oxygen is already a top three team. When if it was just Fruity with them, you're looking at more of a fifth and sixth in my eyes.
yeah. And I think honestly the biggest part is Fair is definitely more of a defensive player, as a lot of the third man. So it was like the 1-2 was Shawset Fruity, and now with your 1-2 being Astral, Shawset is like just a huge upgrade. Like if your number one man becomes your number two man, that's in terms of offense.
Yes.
That's an instant improvement in your team. And Chaussette has not been at the level that we've seen him at, like seen him play in a while. And with Astral coming back, I can see some of his see Chaussette starting to come back into form. And if he can play like he did in like Season 8 Worlds or like during Beyond the Summit that year, like that's gonna be a really fun team to watch because Astral in the air, Chaussette on the ground, and Fair cleaning up everything in between will be a strong contender for sure.
Just gotta hope that Fair can put in an open net to win a series.
Oh, do not remind him.
And then there was
That was
definitely
so
probably some
painful.
sighs that happened right
Oh,
after that.
there were definitely a few. I mean, even from us, we were watching and we're just like, oh no. And then immediately turned around and cost him the entire series. It's painful to watch. Um,
But
then
I
we've
definitely think that's a big plus for Oxygen
oh
over
yeah,
for the loss of Dignitas, because when you just have a player that caliber just swap over to a competitor,
yeah.
um, makes one much better and then takes the other one down. But it'll be very exciting to watch Oxygen throughout the season. That'll be one of the most exciting to watch over in EU. BDS is also very exciting with how they play. Um, but I like them a lot.
Yeah. We've also got Veloce is now top blokes. Just have a name change, and then shortly after, if not like maybe even the same day, they picked up Archie from the Clappers, and I just went to
Yep,
go
we
check.
got Flame, Cassio, and Archie.
Yeah, I went to go check and see because I couldn't remember exactly which. It was a spring series. Okay, that's what I thought. They played in the spring series. They were just an unknown team playing in the spring series with Archie, Juriez, and Calix, and they are now all playing for strong teams. Calix to Triple Trouble, Juriez on Dignitas, and now Archie with Top Blokes. So that whole team is now completely split, but they clearly made a name for themselves as players, and now they're all getting their chance on different teams. So I'm very excited to see how each of those individual players do in this
Yeah,
upcoming season.
I think Jorius will have is clearly the best out of those three, and then I think his impact will be the greatest known, probably not because he's better than the others. It's more just that he's on a team that has such high expectations for how well
Yeah.
they play, and then he has to live up to that.
If
Um,
anything, though, I feel like Archie is. I'm more excited to see Archie play because honestly, I feel like no matter how well Jorias plays, it'll be hard to match Astral, so it'll always sort of feel like he's falling short. Whereas all Archie has to compete with is Freaky, who I didn't watch a lot of Veloce play, and we haven't gotten to see any of Top Blokes play like in any recent time. But Freaky didn't really impress me that much, anything like a lot of season 9. And I know Archie impressed me in just the one tournament I've seen him play in. So I think I'm more excited to see Archie playing for Top Blokes than I am Jorias for Dig.
yeah,
And then probably the biggest shock to everyone was Squishy going to NRG, and this was just the beginning of the end for NA, making like almost solidifying NRG as like the top team in NA, as well as creating a huge scramble for now all of these available spots and all these available players as people were moving around. Because with him going to NRG, now that frees up Turbo, and I just want to get before we start going down all this, I'm curious your thoughts on just Squishy to NRG, which I assume is
it's
nothing,
just it's just
you
mind-boggling, to be honest. Just like you take already one of the better players in the league, and then you're just like, do you want to be with the
the best team in the
arguably the best
league.
player and the best team? And
Yeah.
it's just like you put him with Justin, who's already insane, and then Garrett is still at the top of his game, and then you just have all three of them together. It's just like Turbo is Turbo, so you can't really deny his quality, but then putting Squishy on there just makes that team absolutely nutty.
I think the biggest thing swapping Turbo for Squishy is speed and solo plays have gone through the roof for this team now because
There's just so much more pace, and I
there's
think that
yeah,
feeds into Justin's play style.
yeah,
And if they need to go slow, it seems like Garrett can just do either, and
yeah.
that's just like and it just works out perfectly for them. And then Sis as their coach, he's just
He's just a
a great
meme.
coach for them, and he also is a meme, but he is good at what he's doing for them.
Yeah, and I mean they've proven that they're a good team. Like almost right away, they're out here winning against big teams and taking down, Rogue in the final. You
In the
know,
last 10 tournaments they've been a part of, um, they've gotten first in 6 of them
and then they also came in second to Envy for one of them as
and
well.
second in 3 of them. So they've been
Jeez.
top 2 in 9 of them, and then they got, I believe, third, fourth
Jeez.
for the other one. So they've never been below fourth in
Yeah.
the last 10 tournaments.
So that's absurd. Like probably the best chance them and probably not Veloce, Vitality right now for the closest teams to potentially reaching like a dynasty level. But Vitality's been looking like not weak, but they haven't looked Vitality recently, and I don't know if it's I honestly don't know what it is because if anything, it feels like KDOP because the team's style is changing the more Alpha plays. It seems like because the play style seems to be suiting Alpha more than KDOP, which is kind of how it used to be built. And so it seems like KDOP's kind of taking a backseat to his teammates now, but even still, that team's looking strong. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm could not
There's
be
a
more
clear one,
excited for
too.
Worlds next year.
There's a clear 1-2 at the moment,
Yeah. And then because of
especially with the
that,
fall of G2 in the
yeah.
last few
Oh, yeah.
weeks.
G2 has been, and I think, and that's another thing to note. G2 is the only of the 10 that were in RLCS in season 9. They were the only team to not make a roster move in all of NA. And normally that'd be fine because they just won regionals. But recently they have not been good, and I don't even know why.
It's so confusing.
Yeah, they're just not connecting on any touches anymore, and I don't know, their team's just falling apart. And I don't know if a roster move needs to happen, and if one does happen, it's like I guess you'd kick Rizzo, but it's like it's so that team has been together for so long now. You got to just hope they can, kind of pull it out when they need to. And I think once they get the like the team house going again, because that's when the team really like just started playing amazing is when they were in the team house together. So if they need to bring that back apparently. Otherwise, G2, I don't know. It's still early, but I do not see them as like a top contender anymore.
Yeah, it's just like they can't get anywhere in tournaments right now. When they play in a tournament, it's like if there's a group stage or a playoff to get into the final day, they're just not even in the final day. It's
Yeah.
not even like they're losing that day. They're just not making it.
All right, and now the starts to happen because of this. Now, also Cloud9 pulls out of Rocket League because of all of the issues teams have been having with Psyonix or whatever. We can talk about that some other time. Cloud9 pulls out. They are now Rat Enterprises. At least as of this recording, they are still Rat Enterprises. Um, and I know they tried out Retals for a short time. They tried out Illusion and because NRG kicked Turbo, he went to Envy, which freed up Illusion. Tried him out there. I know they tried what I say. They tried Illusion. They tried Retals. They tried a couple different people, and it wasn't until recently they picked up. I think we're getting too far ahead of ourselves because each one of these things is affecting another one. So let's start with just
I think
Turbo and Envy right now. Let's just talk
Turbo
about
on
Turbo to
Envy's
Envy.
just instantly makes them so much better. Again, it's just like these moves are like you could see how you think that the 4-time champ would it would be just like, oh, NRG's done, but then they just replace them with squishies. So it's like, I mean, they're still amazing.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at Envy and it's like, all right, now you have Atomic Mist and Turbo, and then just having that presence of Turbo on your team is just like,
It's
you
huge.
are so much better now.
Because I think Envy, while they were known as Ghost, was always like a strong team, and they could definitely surprise better teams and could usually beat a lot of the weaker ones in the league. But they could never kind of like get through that threshold and become a top team. They just couldn't win anything. And as soon as they bring Tibber on the roster, like was it like the next week or something, they go out and win like get in first place in a tournament.
Yeah, I think they won Codename Covert, I
Yeah,
believe.
it was just like instantly he made an
Oh, they
impression on
won
the
the
team.
brawl. That's what they
It
won.
was
They
the
won
Brawl
the
10K.
brawl
Okay,
10.
yeah. and they won instantly and over NRG, and a lot of people
over
were then
NRG.
talking about how like, oh, was this the right move? But I think it was the right move for both teams, honestly, because Envy won the first round, but NRG has been just stupid good since then.
They have been ridiculous.
And then because of Turbo to Envy, that frees up Illusion, who I think was just picked up recently, or I think is
There's talks that
there's
he's
talk. Okay,
going.
there's talks. He hasn't actually been. He hasn't. It hasn't been confirmed yet. Okay. So like I said, Cloud becomes Rat. Mouse Sports also pulls out, and that's when Arju gets kicked from Mouse Sports as well, which I think was fair. I don't know. You were definitely more of a Mouse fan than I was, so I'll let you talk on Arju for a sec.
I mean, he was just like popping off at the right time when they needed it, especially when Scrub Killer leaves at the end of the last season,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the second best win percentage for him. Um, like all the players for their win percentage throughout the season, when Arju steps in, he has the second best win percentage behind Vitality.
Damn.
So if Arju was there the whole time, they would have been better than Dignitas based on that stat. So that's just insane to think of with how good Dignitas was.
Yeah.
So the Arju move honestly needed to happen because he played well in that for the end of the season and the regional event following. But then right after that, it was just a cliff drop for him where I think it was just too much pressure and he would just make too many mini mistakes. Those
Yeah.
mini mistakes in professional esports
It was a lot of like consistency
is just too
issues.
much, and there's just not enough consistency for his gameplay.
Yeah.
So moving on from him was necessary. It was tough to see because it's like nice to see a sub
Yeah.
make an impact on a team, and you want more of those to happen. But he just didn't become the next big thing, or at least a starter for a team. And that's where Fruity comes in to help them. And there was a lot of chat about how well that team's going to play now,
Yeah.
because they've dropped the mouse sports because they were not same type of reasons it seemed for why Cloud9 was out.
Yeah.
But they've left the door open more than Cloud9. It seems like Cloud9 is kind of just like, no way we're coming back. But mouse sports is like, we'll be back one day, it seems. But we need to wait for this to make
I think
more sense
Cloud9
to
is also in a similar situation actually. I think they said it'll probably be a while for Cloud9, but I think they said if stuff improves and continues to look like it's going in the direction Cloud9 could come back. But I
So
also
then,
like, that's just what we've heard.
yeah. And then that's where Team Liquid, who is one of the more well-known esports organizations, steps in, and they get
Yeah.
to have their own team now. And grabbing Fruity to, because they've tested with Fruity right before when they were X Mouse, and then
Yeah.
now they're officially with him.
Yeah, I think
I
they
know that
Team Liquid
Speed and
signed them.
Cooksy.
I think Team Liquid uh signed everyone including Fruity like all on the same day. So it went from Fruity not
Yeah,
being on team to like being official and being Team Liquid like all in one go, I think.
they took them all one big thing. They made a video about it. Speed, from what I read, was Speed and Cooksy were heavily thinking this is their dream team of what they wanted, exactly what they were wishing for. No one else they wanted.
That's good.
And it's great to see the positivity in that. It's just really interesting to see how they're going to play, because when we saw them in the last tournament, it's like
Very
first
hot and
game
cold.
first game it was like serious. It was the ugliest thing I'd seen. But then they pulled it out in 7 games or 6 games, and it's like, so they flicked a switch immediately, and then they play Vitality and absolutely demolished them.
Yeah, it just ran the
instantly.
house.
And it's like, oh, so you can be very poor to start, but then sweep Vitality. And
Yeah.
it's like crazy. And then the next thing they do is they play Oxygen and get swept by them. So there's such a disconnect in how you're able to sweep the alleged best team, and then a team lower than them, you're just like out instantly.
Yeah,
And then they
we'll just
lost
lose.
to BDS, who they struggled with heavily in that first one where they had to go to 5 games.
Yeah.
So it's just, the team is very confusing to see. They play such a weird style. It's just very, very late to the party. They're at the party, but they're just moping about to start. And then once they kick in, they're cannonballs into the water and they're having a fun time.
Yeah.
But then they slouch back down and are non-existent.
Very hot and
And
cold team.
They need to up the consistency to be a contender in a strong EU where BDS is coming from RLRS,
Yep.
and they are just a team that has their number every time they play. Guild has Scrub Killer, who I just rate very highly. Vitality is Vitality. We've talked about Oxygen, Dignitas still being a force.
Yeah.
We'll get onto Barca in a sec, but there's something to not mess with. Endpoint is an interesting team. Top blokes, we liked Archie to go in there. It's just there isn't an easy team, and if you're not at full speed, you're just
Yeah.
gonna get run over
And especially with these, with the
or
way,
demoed. You'll be demoed.
yeah, for sure. With the way that RLCS X is happening too, it's a lot of these teams that never had their chance to go to Worlds or Regionals or any of this. A lot of these RLS teams are now getting a chance, and they're way hungrier. Very similar to the BDS, where it's just like a team that you've never really heard of, you don't know a lot about, and they're just taking it to some of these top teams because they want it more, and these are the kind of players who've been grinding all this time trying to catch up, and now they finally get their chance and they can prove that they've caught up. And so if they're not prepared for some of these lesser known teams, like there's a chance they could just get knocked around by some of them.
It seems like they play down to their competition and then play up to their competition. So
Yeah.
if you're able to sweep Vitality, that means you have the high of the. You could be one of the best teams in the world. But then if you get swept by Oxygen and lose to BDS, are you really one of the better teams? It's tough to say.
Yeah. Obviously, no slight on Dignitas and BDS, but
No.
Dignitas already took a huge fall losing Astral, and or not,
BDS, we
or
don't know.
yeah,
We
an
haven't seen
Oxygen
them
rather.
play
Yeah.
enough of
Yeah.
the top tier.
But I mean, they won that specific. I don't. Again, there were so many tournaments this off season. I don't remember which one
Well, I
that
mean,
was, but I
BDS
mean, they
gets
took
fourth
number one.
at Baguette. They get fourth at Baguette.
Okay, yeah. I mean, they're like
Um,
BDS has made a
they
strong
win the
showing this
Euro
whole off
Cup
season.
over Mouse Sports back in
It was Euro Cup. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
June.
Yeah.
It just seems like they have the Mouse Sports rosters number.
So speaking of BDS, they go out and pick up Extra as well, and I don't know. I didn't really know where did Extra come from, because this is one of those players that I never remember where he came from.
He was on Monaco.
Oh, he was on Monaco. Okay, yeah, I didn't watch a whole lot of Monaco play. Yeah, so
Well, it
Extra
was
was,
disgusting to watch them, so you didn't want to.
yeah, that's probably why. Monaco was,
I don't think they won a game, did they?
I don't think so.
That is funny.
Well, not a game, but yeah, they
A
didn't win a series.
series.
Yeah, I knew what you meant. But yeah, Extra was definitely the best player on probably the worst team, at least in Europe last season. So giving him going from the bottom of RLCS and the top of RLRS is not a huge difference, honestly, for Extra. So it's a similar like team level, but ever since joining BDS, I feel like BDS has been better with him than without. And I don't have a
Yeah,
lot
I
to say about
think
that because we've already kind of talked about BDS.
from watching BDS is a lot of fun as well. They're an interesting team, so it's not like taking a slight on them because if you're finishing first in RLRS and then you're beating RLCS teams and getting fourth in a tournament with all of them,
Yeah.
you have plenty of qualities. So it's nice to see them taking a big step, and I think they will be a force to be reckoned with. Clearly, with this roster of marked by Monkey Moon and Extra. I think those three will be exciting to see, and I think they're gonna do. I think they're gonna turn some heads.
Oh yeah.
Rocket League Esports.
Where did? Okay, and Clayx who left BDS is now on team. Okay, so they're name seekers, which means I guess they
Names
just
with
haven't come
names.
up with a name yet.
Yeah,
And it's Clayx from BDS,
that's
Nachatao who left
Nachatao and
Endpoint,
Cash.
and then Cash, yeah, who the name sounds familiar.
Cash was a stand-in for Monaco.
Okay. I don't know why it's a familiar name then.
That was for like a week.
Yeah. Okay.
He's been on teams I've never heard of. So.
Yeah, exactly. But it's weird that I recognize his name. So if anything, that's a good sign. If I don't even know the teams and I know the name, that's chances are a good
And then
sign.
Nachito is from Endpoint.
Yeah.
Previously, so
who knows? That team could play well. don't know enough about any of those players individually to know how they play
They
together.
were created 5 days ago. So
Oh, cool. Yeah. So,
um, they were called Los Amigos.
oh, okay, yeah, and they just rebranded.
They had a
So,
nice cactus logo, but they they do not exist anymore.
all right.
And now they're
Um,
name seekers, and who knows what's going to happen to them.
then we get Jurius Dig, which we've already kind of talked about.
You,
Sonics.
you know,
I don't have enough to say. We've said a lot about that here and there, and this has already been going for a while, so we don't need to linger on that too much. Um, we've also got Sonics, Dapper out, and there's talks of J Russ in.
yeah, I don't know a lot about J. Russ, but the Dapper leaving is just a big defensive hole. So I don't know how good J. Russ is defensively, but if he's not,
J Russ is like a strong ones player, and so was Dapper. So I think it's. I don't think they've really solved any of their problems. They've just all they've done is improve a player when clearly it's their play style that isn't working. Because I feel like I haven't seen them win a game since season 9 regular season. Like they shocked everyone at how well they played. No pun intended. But then once Shock stopped being the MVP of the world, the team just disappeared completely. And then when you just swap one's player for a slightly better one's player, it's that's not gonna just solve all your team problems. But who knows? Like I said, I haven't really gotten to see him play because they just keep losing. So oh, and we definitely haven't gotten to see him play with J Russ yet. I don't think. At least I haven't personally.
I have not. I don't think
Okay.
anyone has.
Yeah. So hopefully they're better, at least for their sake.
It'll be interesting to see how they mesh with the South. So
Oh yeah, the Sath wagon keeping his spot on the team.
Southwagon.
Oh. Jake, do you mind leaving? We're recording a podcast right now. We'll be done shortly, and then I'll text you.
well, just go to the Rocket League channel. We'll be done in like 10 minutes max.
Interesting place to do it.
Well, we just were gonna go because no one was in here.
Huh.
All right, bye, Jake.
Goodbye then.
I like how he comes in right when we're talking about the Sonics too. Yeah, so I think the Sonics. I don't even know. I was gonna make a prediction on where they're gonna land, but I really have no clue.
I think it'll be tough. It just needs to be either Shock needs to shock the world, or
Nice.
it just won't happen. And I
Yeah.
think he's gonna have to carry hard, and who knows how that's gonna go with such a constant change in the roster as well. So it's tough to really create the
Yeah.
chemistry, and who knows. You feel like though it would have made more sense to get rid of Sathi and keep Dapper because you just know how offensively
Yeah.
amazing Shock is. So then if you have Dapper there to play that defensive solidity, then you can work on finding someone who can play
Yeah.
either part, and it's not a big worry if you get someone who's offensive or someone who's defensive, because you know that Dapper can do both,
Yeah.
and then you know that Shock can do both, but you just know that they like one or the other. But if you keep Sathu, you know he is the same as Shock, and that means you need to find one of the other, and you need that defensive solidity.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't, because obviously I don't know any of the inner workings. I don't know if there's anything
Yeah, who knows?
in team that helped make the decision, but it's just like, I don't know. I thought they played well during the season, and then all of a sudden they're bad, and I have no idea what caused it. And I wasn't watching closely enough because they were winning. I wasn't following all their mistakes and seeing exactly where they were faltering. But I know a lot of Shock's goals came from Sathu, and that's probably why. So they're like, I guess just change the third man because it was a lot of goals from Shock, a lot of assists from Sathu, so swap Dapper. That's like the only thing I can think is why they kind of did that. Solary, Melashisu out, Yukis in. I don't really have anything to say about this. I haven't seen a lot of Solary before or after Melashisu, so I don't know if you know anything to say. Okay.
I never watched much of them.
Singularity becomes Guild, and now there's
We talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about this shortly. There's like a second
There's a new
Singularity,
name.
maybe. I don't know. It's a little confusing. We can figure that out later. All right, and now here's the rest of the fallout from the squishy move. AXB to Cloud9, and then the free space on Space Station goes to Reddles. I think it was more the other way around. Reddles went to Space
Well, they
Station.
had Reddles test with we knew that they tested with Rat, which
Yeah.
was Cloud9, but that didn't work. So
Shockingly, I thought he
the
was going to be great there, honestly.
the group of Torment and Gimmick were still looking hard for their third, and they were able to snag AXB from Space Station, and that move has looked better than the Rebels move from what we've
and
seen.
the Illusion attempt
And the
as
Lucian
well.
tryout.
Yeah.
So AXB being on there, they look much more.
Didn't they try Wonder Mike as well?
I believe they did, yeah.
Yeah.
So this seems like a much better move, and I believe they'll stick with it. And I think AXB being on there is just. It seems like they're just more balanced throughout everywhere, and then they're able to compete nicely.
I think this is a better move for both teams, honestly, because I feel like Reddles is a huge improvement from AXB for Space Station. The only thing holding Space Station back now is 3 offensive-minded players, so it can leave them on a lot of open
at
nets.
the same exact time.
Yeah, it's leaving them on
And
a lot
it's
of
like
open
there's
nets.
one ball, and so if you double commit, you get burnt hard, and that's exactly what happened when they played Rogue. And that's why Rogue moved on in 6 games to the final.
And I don't know if that's also, especially with Reddles being new to the team, a lot of that is also probably communication. I wasn't keeping track of who was double committing, but I assume it was Reddles and someone else.
It seemed like all of them were. It didn't seem like there was one. It wasn't just Reddles' fault or just Arsenal's or just Sipical's. It seemed like Sipical had some bad games, Arsenal had some bad games, and Reddles had some bad games, and it was mainly down to a couple double commits, and then they just did not have.
Well, I just mean on the double commits specifically. Like I don't know.
It
if
seemed like
it
was a mixture.
Okay. Well then, so hopefully for them it's just a communication thing, and they fix that, and they're going to be looking like one of the top teams in the world again. So I'm just excited to see that, because again, even if they're not necessarily a good team, which I think they are, even if you don't think they are, they're still a fun team to watch because of how just like
their quality
they're
is
just
so
a
high,
fun team to watch. Yeah,
they'll be exciting to see, and excitement can easily mean quality. It can easily mean the other way around, but the quality's there, so usually excitement is stemmed from goals. So then if you're scoring goals, you're winning games.
Yep. And then XP to Cloud9, I just think, they needed a player who was more in the midfield, because you've still got Torment is a much more defensive player. Gimmick can now just ball chase even harder than he was with Squishy, and then kind of AXB through the midfield. So I think they found the perfect slot in there for them. And that's the best they've looked with anyone they've tried out. Not a whole lot else to say, because we know Torment and Gimmick, and we know AXB. It's just a matter of them working well together, and it looks like they're looking good. So then the new Singularity roster came out with Godsmilla now coming back to Singularity, picking up Breezy and Hibbs. Breezy,
I don't know much about them.
Breezy, famously known for the Breezy flick, playing for We Dim Girls and the RLRS, and then Hibbs I don't really know a lot about. He's only played for like one other team, so he's relatively unknown, especially for me. So I have again no idea how well that team's gonna play. But that's more in the news. And then we have, let's go to one sec. We've got, okay, so then a lot of other things that are sort of rumors and stuff in the works right now, in terms of the PK roster leaving, and then PK picking up the Valence roster, and a lot of that kind of stuff. Like J Rustasonics, I think, isn't confirmed yet.
No.
But, I mean, what else are they going to do,
Itachi to Barca's confirmed.
Oh, yeah, Itachi to Barca. I totally missed that. Thank you, because I don't think I wrote that down. Yeah, Itachi to Barca. Yeah, let's talk about Barca if you want to go for that.
I think the Barca move of getting rid of Flakes and bringing in Itachi, based on the one tournament they've really played well together in. Like which one was that? That was the Baguette one. Is that what I'm thinking of?
Yes.
They got third, but they looked very nice with the Devo, Ronicky, and Itachi. That trio looked well oiled. Itachi was popping off for the tournament. It looked very solid for what they needed, which was much better than watching them play with Flakes. They played well with Flakes, and they got, I want to say, third in season 9, and so that's exceptional. But I felt like these players just work well together more from what I'm seeing. And I think they're going to be a lot more exciting as well.
Yeah. And I think like a big part of Barca is now again they have that, Devo more defensive, Itachi to the midfield, Ronicky running the offense kind of play style, and it works for them. When those players play those kind of roles, that team is again really fun to watch, and it's I don't know, they're a strong team for sure, and definitely stronger than when they had Flakes. I also
Yeah.
forgot to mention Solar, because when we were talking about Solary, I forgot to mention the fact that they're now Alpine as well.
Yeah.
Because another name switch as well. Um, and then the other rumors that are going on right now are the Valence roster being picked up by the Knights because the Knights roster is going to is going to leave and become the Peeps again, which would be kind of cool to see the Peeps. Obviously it won't be the same roster as when they were the Peeps, but the alleged roster would be Gyro, AJ, and Aleutian, which definitely not the strongest roster, but I think it could be a fun one to watch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know about you. I liked the Knights, but was never a big fan of them. I was more of a Reddles fan, and now that he's gone, that just makes me like Space Station more and Pittsburgh Knights less. But
yeah, I'm totally with you. The Riddles is a meme, but I think the idea of that team was just basically a liking of watching Riddles and his excitement brought out there and how well he played.
yeah,
So then it's like you kind of just you gravitate a little bit more to where Riddles is than the Pittsburgh Knights as a team.
yeah. And then we've also got we've got allegedly Aleutian joining that roster. J. Russ is allegedly going to Sonics, which we talked about already a little bit. Stromboli is now X set, and Stromboli I believe also was in the promotion tournament and just missed out, and that's Alraz, J-Pow, and Alpha Cap, and a lot of the like spring series and all the other stuff that's been happening. They've been a good team to watch. So I don't know about you. I don't have a lot to say about them. I have no idea if you have anything to say about them.
I don't really have much.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. So hopefully they play well for their sake. And again, better competition is always nice. The United roster is looking different as well. The old roster, so it's Hoxer and Ajax still, but they brought in, didn't they? Yeah, they brought in Memory. I guess that was just for a temporary tryout for a long time.
Wanda Mike,
And
I believe.
now they've swapped him, for Wanda Mike. And he was Wanda Mike, or Memory was a stand-in for so long that I just assumed he was part of the team at that point. And then they go and flip Memory back. Didn't they got Memory from Flight? Didn't they? Yeah, they got Memory from Flight, and then flipped him right back to the old Flight roster.
Yep.
So now
he was signed to the starting roster for about a month.
Yeah. So now
but he'd been rotating in and out prior.
Old Flight roster is now back together with Seabass, Rapid, and Memory, which was the exact same team that got them last place last season. Mm-hmm. But hopefully with the addition of Beast Mode in place of one of them, they'll be better.
Yeah.
Because, I don't, you put the same team back together, unless all players have drastically improved, I don't see you playing any different than you did last season.
You can't really change that much in this short amount of time.
And that new Flight roster is under
Kansas City Pioneers.
Yeah, thank you. I was the name was on my screen and I couldn't find it. Yeah, Kansas City Pioneers. So I believe that's everything. This is a lot to talk about. I'm sure we missed some things. I'm sure we didn't go in depth with some things as much as we wanted to, and some not enough because we've been talking about it for months already. So, and a lot of stuff can't be said because a lot of these teams we still haven't gotten to see a lot of yet play against each other. So
it's hard to have opinions about things that you haven't really witnessed. But we're all just excited for this RLCS X.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, and I'm very excited to see all these teams back in action again. And do you have any closing thoughts?
Not really. I'm just pumped for more Rocket League.
Oh, boy. All right. So this will come out hopefully before... Actually, well, it definitely won't be before season X starts, because that's going to be tomorrow. So it'll be, this will come out eventually.
Hopefully before week 1 of the grid.
Let's hope. But yeah, so we're all very excited, and thank you for joining us on the first episode of the Plat Rats podcast.
Thank you.
I've been Vancer, this has been Wally, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.